ones that come out of that.
Okay, Kieran, my previous question was more in terms of the internal effect for USI of these amalgamations and how you'd address the difficulties that arise from that.
Well, I suppose one obvious one would be one that happened in the past in terms of where other institutes of higher education had gone on to seek university status, which is something that we are presently seeing with regard to technological university status. USI in the past had taken positions that were non-supportive of those applications, and that has backfired to this day in terms of the input and the involvement of the students' unions from those unions. So we need to be very careful. We need to be careful that USI, like Europe, as viewed by many, doesn't become a two-tier system. We need to ensure that the decisions are made are based around quality of education. Now, I was I was at Congress in 2006 when DIT had just failed in its efforts to become a university under the European University Association review. And many at the time were devastated. We thought that this was our big chance gone. But I want to say to you, having been a student in the years since, when previous reviews have gone on, it was possibly one of the best things that has ever happened to DIT, and that is because it has forced DIT to make every step possible to improve its quality. That's something that USI should be driving. The clear guidelines that are set out with regard to technological university status should be what USI's bread and butter is. We should say that this is our standard, and every university, or every institute of technology, I should say, should have to work to it in order to become a technological university. We should not bend on that. We should not get involved in the political toing and froing. We should say quality first.
Okay, John.
Well, I do agree that the criteria need to be adhered to, but I think the main issue is that it's quite important that USI actually does take a proactive stance on the technological university issue and doesn't hide behind it for fear of getting repercussions from its members. And I think that takes courage from a USI president. My own personal view is that coming from a university background, I think I'm going to be more benefiting students arguing for technological universities than Kieran would be, because it'll look, and again, this is no slight on Kieran, but it'll look like he's trying to get one for the Technological University of Dublin, which I wouldn't argue with. It will be a great institution. But I'm coming from it from a completely hands-clean outside perspective, and I can argue that I think it's good based on the merits, on the criteria, and not my own personal views.
I'm a proud two times graduate of DIT at both ordinary and honours degree level. DIT offered me opportunities that the universities wouldn't have at the time. I was able to come through the ordinary degree, go on to get an honours degree, a quality of which is recognised by Engineers Ireland as first class. I am in every way proud to be a graduate of an Institute of Technology. I wear a DIT badge on my suit. I have no issue with the letters IT, and I am willing to go and sell the significance of those letters in terms of the form of education that is offered to anybody, be they university snob, be they IT apologiser, whatever they are. The quality of education is key. ITs have played a pivotal role in the development of Ireland's economy and society. I believe that technological universities gives them more latitude to develop that, and I believe that we should support that on that basis, that it gives them an opportunity to develop that style of learning, not to fall into line with what universities are traditionally and classically.
Thank you, Ron. Kieran, I certainly gleaned from what John said that you coming from DIT would have a focus on DIT rather than the broader issues relating to technological universities. Have you a response to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Well, if I didn't, I shouldn't be here. But I've spoken with many of the ITs, many representatives from the ITs, and I'm a member, as it says in my manifesto, of the Dublin Region Higher Education Alliance. I've also emailed the sabbaticals from each of the CEOs in regard to this. I have been asked to gather the thoughts of students across the country in terms of how they feel mergers, technological university, clusters, all of these other developments will actually benefit the student experience. So I have a national view on this. I'm actually attending a seminar as well next week on that very issue. It is something that interests me. I am absolutely committed to the notion of technological education, and I believe that all of the ITs have a role to play in that. And whether they go on to become technological universities or not is irrelevant, so long as they maintain their core ethos of learning by doing.
John?
I mean, I agree again, but I mean, I am completely for the idea of a technological university. But we have to ask ourselves, and the big question here is, who's going to be the best person to try and help unions or to help institutions achieve that status? It's going to be the person who has the links, who has the relationships with people in the Higher Education Authority. I didn't only work with them last year. I spent the summer as a consultant with the Higher Education Authority. I know the people in the Department of Education. I know how the politics work about how to get things done. It's going to be played out in the media whether we like it or not. And I will be the person who will be able to stand up and say, I'm coming from an outside perspective here, and I think this is an absolutely fantastic idea that we should strive for the economic recovery of this country. So I think I bring more to the table in forwarding the technological university agenda than my opponent does.
I don't propose to spend much longer on this topic, but I would like to hear your views on a situation whereby you have one member organisation that's happy to gobble up another member organisation in order to achieve technological university status, whilst the other member organisation does not wish to be gobbled up. So where would you start with that, which is getting us away from press and HA and everything else? We're talking about the dynamics between your MO presidents at a National Council meeting, and who are you representing? Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing that we do have to seriously address is the issue of student representation on governing authorities and academic councils. I think that it is key that, it's no secret that the larger the institution, the less representation you have. But I think that if we are merging organisations that do have better student representation per capita, that we need to ensure that at least there is a maintaining of student representation. I think that's most important.
Part of the embryonic stages of the potential Technological University of Dublin set out about creating a discussion between and a dialogue between DIT, IT Tala, IT Blanchardstown and IADT. And at the time, that was certainly a fear of the smaller institutes, not alone just the students' unions, but the institutes, of being gobbled up by this Goliath that is DIT and that would have been bigger than all three institutions put together. But the purpose of the discussions ever since have been looking at the strengths of each of the organisations. Because of the fact that they have evolved separately, evolved differently, with different working styles, they all have something different to offer, something positive to offer. And we have to be sure that we look at students' unions in the very same way, that we embrace the positives and that we discard the negatives and just be big enough and man enough and woman enough to ensure that we are actually acting in the best interests of our students. I believe USI can play a role in that. I believe my experience has been part of one of the institutions which is perhaps most advanced in their applications for technological university status, that I have the skills, the understanding and the experience to deliver in that regard.